Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Chatting with Wisdom. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Rollie Allaire. Gigadomigwinquay is my spirit name, and I'm your host of Chatting with Wisdom. Chatting with Wisdom is a weekly interview series featuring amazing women. There are different ways that women are amazing, and we get to celebrate that. So I invite you to join me inside my private Facebook group, Mind, Body, Heart, and Soul Connection. You can also find a similar group on Telegram that I've been using this year to share positivity. So today I would like to welcome Wendy. So Wendy, I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name. I think it's Shugar.
It is. It's sugar.
Good. So Wendy has been a life coach for over 15 years. She has learned how to incorporate nature into healing, and nature heals. Wendy loves listening. Wendy loves to listen to and help others learn how to follow their dreams and their goals while being happy. So, welcome, Wendy. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'd love to say it's a beautiful morning, but it's still dark here. But I'm very happy to be here, and it's a pleasure meeting you and get to share
Awesome.
all my fun stuff. So that's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. And so, for those of you who do follow me, may notice that I have some sort of little lisp happening when I was trying to read something that had that S sound. I'm like, okay, that's I'm struggling. No, it was private. Actually, I was having trouble with the word private. So I just had some dental work done, and the phrasing is just coming out. I was telling Wendy that beforehand. So, but she's like, oh, I didn't notice. I'm like, okay, people who follow me might notice a little. So I'm just pointing that out because I'm not sure if it'll actually shift as I'm talking this week or today. So welcome back. And so I love the topic. So everybody who knows that I knows this, many people who follow this for a while knows that I don't plan ahead. So one of the things that I do is Chatting with Wisdom is completely unscripted. And so I don't know ahead of time what the topics are going to be, what the conversation is going to be all about until I come in the morning. And I love this, and I always love the synchronicities of how things all come into play because I open these up early part of January, February when you actually signed up. So like this has been set for a really long time, but yet today of all days, we're actually talking about living life your way outside of the box. And so currently this week, I've been doing for the last 10 days, today's day 10 of it's called the Journey 2022. And we're doing we're talking about different things, and the entire conversation is about being able to shift your thinking outside of the box, finding a different way that's going to work for you and how that's going to come into play. So again, I love the synchronicity that the universe puts into play because it wasn't synchronized. We had absolutely no idea that this was going to happen. So tell me a little bit more about yourself, Wendy. Let's start there.
So I am a mom of three, which I love. I live in Oregon. I'm from LA. And ever since I was very young, I always wanted to move to Oregon to actually create a retreat center. Amazingly, right? And so I went through the process like everybody else does of going to school, getting good grades, graduating, making money, getting married, blah, blah, blah. And I finally decided, why am I waiting to do what I want to do and following this crazy ass path that everybody says we're supposed to follow? So in January of 17, I woke up and I said, that's it. This is time. I've already done the corporate thing. So I literally picked up and moved that year. I now live here. I have 5 acres. I run retreats. I work with people. I take them out into nature. And I remind them that nature is the only thing on the planet that doesn't judge. And so it doesn't matter if you're short, if you're yellow, if you're blue, if you're fat, if you're skinny, nothing matters. It doesn't matter. You can just go out there and be you. And we talk and we laugh and we giggle and we hike and we just figure out solutions to people's issues of where they want to be in their dream life, of what they've dreamt about ever since they were a kid. So I really love that. And nature saved me. In 2012, I was actually 315 pounds and couldn't walk and had to have my shoes tied, which was the most mortifying moment of my life, to be honest. And it was from then that I changed. And I went, I can change, I can do this, and I can work with others to do the same. So that's what I do. And it's pretty fun and exciting.
I love that. So now you said that you moved to Oregon. So, and I'm not familiar with, I've never been there, so I have no idea. So like, is it like really a nature oriented place? Like, so it's like not very busy. Like, is that?
So I live in a town called Cottage Grove. There's 10,000 people here, maybe a little more. It's pretty small. Though it's 23 miles from Eugene, which is the where the college is. So it's big, but I live on 5 acres. It's completely in a forest. My closest neighbors are 2 miles on either side of me. People get to come up here and literally unplug. You get to see deer around here. Unfortunately, there's a cougar or a bear every once in a while. But there is lots of hiking and kayaking for sure. We do backpacking up here and also travel to different states. This is my base. But, I do go back to LA. I'm going to Sedona in February. So I get to travel also. So it's pretty cool. But yes, Oregon's very green, which is amazing.
I love that. So we live in a very small community. And so, yes, it's busy on the street that I live on right now, but busy means like 10 cars.
Oh, yeah.
So, so that's busy. And so because we are very green up here, we have lots of hiking trails. We have lots of very beautiful places that we actually get to connect. And so it's beautiful. So I love how you're able to incorporate that to be able to bring things through. And
it's pretty amazing when you look out my front yard, which I wish we had more light, but all you see is a forest. So it's pretty magical. It's
nice.
And we get to do fire pits out here. That was the first thing I put in my property, and you literally are sitting out listening to the owls and the hawks scream. So I always tell people, that's the way to go. That's the way to just calm down and breathe and get going. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. So what are some of the things that you do with your clients? Like, so you do hiking. So, but you said it's not always here, like here in Oregon, that you actually go to different places. So where, so like, how does that work for you?
So for example, on a yearly basis, let's take away the last, couple years because of our little pandemic, but I go to Sedona and we run a 4-day retreat there. So we actually all stay usually in one place. And we hike Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we do a different hike every day. Nice. We do some meditation. We do journal time. Sometimes we do yoga. Try to hit the hot tub for sure. But we get to visit the different places of where we go and see that nature area, because nature's different. It's not different, but it's a different scenery, right? So in Sedona, you have vortexes and you have rocks and you have that's a different way of connecting to nature, where if you're in Oregon, you get to do forest bathing under the trees, and their pheromones. Whereas in LA, you get a little bit of everything because you can go to areas, and I am doing LA in March, I think, where you get to do some of the, rocks, but there's also the trees and there's different, hidden areas by the ocean. So it just depends on where we are. But Sedona is really beautiful. I love that. It's really fun. LA is my home, where I'm from. So I get to show everybody the things there. And I'm all about taking people out no matter what level you're at. So it doesn't matter if you can walk 10 steps or 6 miles, you're still going to have really great wins. You're still going to get out of it what you're there for, because it really is all about you, the individual, right? And then you also get out of it as in a group setting. Like we all kind of come together and we talk, and sometimes we learn how to read tarot cards. I have a new deck of empowerment cards, so we'll pull those and we talk about those. But it's also the community, and it's also about, holding another up when they need to hold up, or listening if somebody needs to be listened to. So I really try to run those retreats when we do group retreats so that everybody has their individual wins, but is also lifted up by everybody else. Here in Oregon, or if I go to LA to work with clients, which I do very often, we can go hiking, or we could just go to a park and sit on the bench. Again, 10 steps, 2 miles, it doesn't matter. But it's all about you and where your dreams are and where you want to go. And it's okay to live outside the box, and it's okay not to follow what society tells you you're supposed to do.
And I love that. I love how you actually, it's all client centered, right? So, whatever it is that the client needs, where is it that the client needs to be, and how the client needs to be able to move forward is what it is that you are able to do. So, I love that. I love that you're able to take that into account, because a lot of times that's one of the things that that gets missed, in my opinion, because a lot of times it's all cookie cutter, right? So, like you were
Right.
talking about weight loss. Well, for weight loss, well, then you have to do A, B, C, D, and E. So it shouldn't really matter. Like, so what is it that it looks like for you? How is how are you going to be able to improve your own life to make things different? So if it means that you've gone from sitting on the couch to now you're sitting in a park, that's a first place to start.
It
Right?
is. It's a win. And again, it's all about baby steps. To give you an example, in 2012, I told you I was really heavy, 315 pounds. And I had said to this woman who was a hiking guide, who's a dear mentor of mine and is fabulous, I said, I really want to hike the John Muir Trail. It was my dad's dream, and he never did it. My dad's now 89. He's still around. Unfortunately, he has dementia, and he'll never do it. And she said, well, when do you want to do it? And I said, well, when I turn 50, which was 5 years from then or something, right? And she goes, not knowing me, by the way, she goes, well, what the hell are you waiting till you're 50 for? And I said, oh my God, you're right. I'm going to do it this year. And I remember her going stark white, going, oh God, what did I just do? But, it stuck it in my head that I could do anything. And you know what? I trained for 7 months, and I had never been backpacking. I had never, none of that. And I said, I'm just going to do it. And everybody kept saying, you can't do it. You can't do it. You're not ready. You're not ready. And I kept saying, you know what? If I'm ready up here, I can. And it took me 6 months to convince that same woman to go with me for 2 weeks of it. And I did. And I remember I convinced her when we did a 10-mile hike at 106-degree weather in LA, carrying 50 pounds. And I walked back to my car, and without letting her see it, I cried my eyes out. But I knew she saw that I could do it at that point. Right. And it was fabulous. And I hiked it, and I did it on my terms. And we thought we'd do 10 miles a day. We did 5. It didn't matter. The point was, is if I was allowing myself to say, I can just take one more step, right? My body would follow. And that's really what changed my world, is allowing myself to do it my way, but to be determined enough to do it. And that's what I do with my clients. I have clients in their 70s. I have clients that are 18. I have some that can't walk more than 10 steps, and I have some that couldn't walk more than 10 steps. And then last year did the Camino de Santiago. It's just amazing to watch what our minds are capable of doing if we're reminded, right? And if we're allowed to follow those dreams. Unfortunately, sometimes we're not allowed. Our society tells us we're not allowed, but it's okay.
and it is okay, and it's okay for us to be able to do what it is that we need to be doing from ourselves. So Karen Woohoo Thomas says, nature heals, Oregon feeds one's soul. And she's so right. Well, I don't know about Oregon, but the nature does, right? So like, but it's that whole, and I know that what she's referring to is the nature of Oregon, because you've just described it. And so and because we're surrounded by it. So we were actually talking about it. So we've had Thanksgiving this past weekend. I know you guys don't have Thanksgiving for another few weeks, but our Thanksgiving was this weekend here in Canada. And so I was actually hosting Thanksgiving dinner this year, because I haven't for a long time. And so one of the people that were there, one of our family members, were talking about, like, in our own backyard, we have so many places that we have yet to even go to. We have people that travel into our community to do these things, and they plan a whole weekend, and it's like literally in our backyard. And it's one of those things that have been on my to-do list, which was supposed to be this summer, and then it broke my leg, so none of those things happened.
Oh my goodness.
But so it's a plan for next year. Like, it's a plan for in the spring to be able to go and do that. And the person who actually was talking about it was, and I'm the person who put the block in place, because she's actually pregnant, and so she's going to be having a baby come March. And I'm like, okay, in the spring, like, you're going to have a baby. She said, I'm going to pack the baby. Like, I'm going to, and I'm like, of course, I used to do these things with my kids all the time, but yet here I am putting this block up for this person who's like, yeah, I'm going to do that in the spring, and we're going to do this together. And and we just do that, right? So we just do that automatically. But like, I didn't let anything stop me after I had my children. I continued to do all the things that I was doing while I was pregnant. I continued to do all the things that I was doing after I had my kids. I just strapped them on and away we went. And we would just do all these things. But yet, as society, we still put those restrictions. It's like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. You're going to be having a baby, right?
Right. Right. It's true. And again, if we as humans and fellow humans, right, can teach others that it's okay not to follow some crazy ass rule that was put out there, right, or something that you have to follow, that it's okay to do it in a different order. Imagine where everybody would be, right? Imagine how people would be doing things. I mean, I was a single mom of 3, and God bless my kids. I don't know how we did everything, but and somebody asked me, how did you do it? And I'm like, you just do what you want to do when you got to get it done. And you make it happen. And it's all about making it happen for you. And it's all about empowering you to be able to do things.
And it really is. And sometimes we need to ask for help so that we can actually see things from outside of the box, right? So sometimes we need to reach out to somebody like Wendy that says, okay, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look and see how can we do this differently to be able to achieve your goal. Because like you said, so your initial goal was we're going to do 10 kilometers a day, but we only did 5, right? I don't know if we said kilometers or miles, but
miles, but it's okay.
I'm like, okay, just a minute. She's in the US. I don't think she said kilometers.
Yeah. That's funny.
So, but like we're going to figure out what it is that we need to be doing. And so same as like, so we have a little girl who's just like our granddaughter. And so when I broke my leg, how I broke my leg was we were just doing a walk. That's all we were doing. We were just doing a regular hiking trail that I've done from the time that I've been a little girl. And so, but I ended up breaking my leg. And so then she was completely devastated because we were doing these, we have a program or a thing in our area that's called Get Active Temiskaming. And so you can do a 1 kilometer walk, you can do, or run, it's walk or run. So you can do 1 kilometer walk, 2 kilometer, or a 5 kilometer. I think they also have 10 kilometer. But I'm like not at that stage yet.
Right.
And so, but I used to be a jogger. I used to be a runner when I was younger. And it's like, so my goal is not necessarily to get back to running, but to be able to get back into doing like all these things that I used to be doing that I just kind of let slide at the wayside. But her biggest concern was like, oh my gosh, now we're not going to be able to do this. Oh, we're not going to be able to continue to do all these different strategies or these different walks. And it's like, yes, we are. So we may not be able to do it this year, but we're definitely going to be able to in the spring start again. When they start again, they have 5 races that they do, and we're going to be joining the very first one and putting it in our calendar and making sure that that is there, because she's 7 this year, and being able to teach her how to be able to do the things because she was like, oh my God, I can't do 5 kilometers. Let's try. Right. So let's try. Let's see how far that we can get. And if we really absolutely need to turn around. And so I had my GPS thing, and that was tracking our steps and how fast that we were going. And so we were getting near the end, very last stretch. And she's like, I can't do this. Okay, so take my phone and let's see if we can actually beat our time. So let's see if we can actually get to this time. And then that's a win. That's all that we need that's all we need. And so then she pushed. And at one point she started running. I'm like, okay, just a minute. I can't run. I can't go that fast. You need to slow down a little bit. There's no way that I can do that for a whole kilometer. And so then she slowed it down so that it was a fast walk pace, and she was able to beat that score. And so then when we went out the second time, which was when I broke my leg, she's like, okay, let's see if we can beat our time. But it was again, looking outside of the box, thinking, how are we going to be doing things differently? Is that she's always a little bit more self-conscious about going and doing things on her own, moving away from anybody else. Well, the checkpoint had happened. Or like we had passed the checkpoint and the person who was there. And then shortly after that, I broke my leg. Well, there's this 6-year-old, because at the time she was only 6. Here's this 6-year-old who now I didn't know that my leg was broken at that point. I just knew that I couldn't walk on it. And I said, I need to go back. Do you think that you can go back and ask for help? And she's like, yes, I can do that. And she did. She by herself walked all the way back to the person, and it wasn't super far, but she walked all the way back by herself in the bush to be able to go and ask for help, to be able to come back and have somebody come and help me. So then the girl came over, helped me. She called for help. We didn't have self-service where we were. So they had to have a runner go back and find somebody. But it was like, but here's this little girl who was able to like figure out how to be able to go outside beyond what it is that she had to do. And it's just like, it helps you get motivated and helps you get connected to like remembering that, yeah, we too are this little girl inside of us that allows us to be able to step out. Right.
Absolutely. I agree. Good for her and good for you for showing her that she could do it. And I think that that's what you and I and many other people are around doing, because we want to teach people that whatever you were dreaming about as a kid, it's okay to go for that. You don't have to keep doing what your mom and dad told you or what your brother told you have to do. Let's find a happy point, right? Let's find how you're inspired. Let's start living a legacy life. Right. I mean, eventually we're all going to die, unfortunately. But the reason I bring that, and everybody says legacy life, that's so morbid. But I really trying to change it and say it's really a beautiful thing to live a legacy life, because you're putting into steps now that will carry on for generations, and you know it.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, my grandmother, who, God bless her, was like the matriarch of the planet, for God's sakes. It didn't matter where you went. Everybody knew her. But she just lived her life. You know, she invited people in, she fed people. It didn't matter what she did. She's been gone for 22 years. And on the day of her birthday, people still make her famous breakfast. And her legacy lives on. And she didn't even know she was doing it.
Yes.
Right. So I really like to talk to people now about, let's think about that and let's enjoy it. Right. Let's revel in the fact that you get to do that. So it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. And I love that. I love how you were able to, like you said, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm moving. I'm doing this. I'm like picking up and going. And that is like super frightful, right? So like that has got to be one of the most fearful things for us to do, is to pack up our children, pack up our lives, and just say, okay, I'm starting new. I'm starting new and I'm starting fresh.
Oh my God, it's scary. And people look at you and think you're crazy, or you must be going through, I don't know, midlife crisis, or are you having a meltdown, or, whatever people say. But reality is sometimes it's better, and it's okay. And I want to remind people that I push nature, and I love nature because it doesn't judge, but there's all sorts of ways that you can change your world, right, to get to where you want to be. It doesn't always have to be that you have to hike the John Muir trails or the hike you're talking about, but by getting out there and opening, you disconnect from the planet when you're out in nature, right? Because you don't have a cell, you don't, whatever. So you get to actually experience and be in the now, which is so important, right? And be who you are, that you're able to actually imagine what you want to do and come up with solutions. So again, it's not about you have to be a backpacker, but it's about how can we open you up to come up with those solutions.
Absolutely. And being able to, like you said, being able to kind of go outside of the box. So Katrina says, Wendy is amazing. I love her energy. I learn, I laugh, and always get so much out of it. And Maureen says, amazing. So yay. So I love it. I love the conversations that we're having. I haven't had live conversationalists in a while. So this is amazing that we have people on today, because I have lots of voyeurs. So I have lots of people that either watch now or watch later. And then, and I get private messages as opposed to like commenting on, and that's okay too. Right. So like that's
absolutely.
And I always like to be able to acknowledge, like, we love, as we're talking, to be able to see the conversations and having those conversations. It's beautiful that way. Whereas other people like to be able to stay quiet, don't want to share what it is that they're going through and what their experiences are. So either way is awesome, but I love having the conversation. So thank you, Katrina, for actually pointing out how amazing that Wendy is. I love her energy as well, and I've just met her, so I love this energy. I love the way that she thinks outside of the box. I love the way that she has this opportunity for us to be able to look at things from a different perspective of those little steps, as opposed to those ginormous steps. Right? It doesn't have to be big steps. It's like, what's that little thing that has happened? And so we have a program called Soulful Life Hacks that I do, and so every quarter we actually change with the season, and and that's the only time that it's opened up. So like we have 3 months that we actually work together, and a lot of times I hear people saying like, nothing really is different in my life, and I don't know. So a lot of times one of the things that we do is we point out, we say, okay, Wendy, so tell me a little bit more about what experiences or what do you see different with Wendy, with Rollie this time, right? And so so it all depends on whether or not they're able to recognize it on their own. So I kind of shift it based on the group and who's there and what's happening.
Right.
And so, but it's really important for us to be able to see how we contribute to each other. And I love the other part that you were talking about in that group setting of having supporting each other and lifting each other up, right? So sometimes that's all that we need is just to be heard.
Right. Or exactly, or allowed to actually even just speak, right? There's I don't know if necessarily you're always somebody's listening, but if you can speak it, it's a beautiful thing for sure. And I love that you do that. That's great. It's all about empowering people, right? And we all deserve to be empowered.
And that empowerment looks different for each person. So like that would be the conversation about living life your way outside of the box, right? So that empowerment looks different. So, and you've spoke to that already, right? So you talked about how sometimes we just need a little of this, or we need a little bit of that, or not listening to what your brother is saying all the time, or not listening to what your grandmother's been telling you all this time, or all these things. And you have a beautiful role model from your grandmother. So that is amazing. And it's really important. And so Maureen says to feel heard is so important. And it is. Right. So
you're right, Maureen, for sure.
But like the other part that you had said is also to just be witnessed, right? Sometimes we don't need somebody to help us fix things. Sometimes we don't need people. And sometimes people just need to just sit and cry. And I know I have lots of times when we're doing in-person sessions with people that I have people that are like, oh no, now what I'm supposed to do? Like, I need to like make this person stop crying. I need to make this person feel better. And I look at them and say, or they go to pass them a box of Kleenex and it's like, sit, no move. Let them be in their emotion, just witness them and allow them to be in that spot. And that's one of the things that you said as well, is sometimes you just need to be. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And I had somebody texting me going, how do we get on to the podcast? So I'm like, it's really important about feeling empowered. And like you said, talking. And sometimes I say to some people, how can I just support you?
Yep.
And like you said, it could just be handing you the tissue and watching you cry. It could be anything. It's all good. I know this is weird, and I'm not sure you do this, but I'd love to read something to people because we're doing this live and people are listening and reading it. I would love to take a second. Are you okay with that for
Absolutely.
1 minute? Okay, so for everybody who's listening and yourself too, I'd love everybody to close their eyes and just listen for a minute and see where we go. So this is called Where Might Your Forest Be? As you sit in the forest, you see the green leaves taking root. You see the trail running wild. You hear the wind whisper its songs. Can you hear the hawk calling out loud as can be? Can you feel the sun's rays of happiness? Can you feel your smile forming from deep within? It is here in the forest where you sit and contemplate. It is here where you are reminded of who you are. So I really would love people to think about that throughout the day, right? And really think about, where is your forest? Where do you want to be? And where are you most reminded of who you are, whether it be right now in the moment or who you've been changing to be, but where you want to go. People don't do that anymore, right? And it's okay. And I think it's important. And I love to read that to people when I talk to them, because it kind of brings them back to, oh my God, I'm important. I'm allowed to be empowered. I'm allowed to be me. So I think it's really important. So thank you for letting me read that to everybody. Hopefully that helps people. And I see Jeanette's in. So hi, Jeanette.
Yeah. So, and it is so important. It's so important for us to be able to just get back to those roots of who we are and being able to figure out like what is it that we want and what is it that we don't want. And sometimes that means taking taking a step back and inspecting our environment. And I know that this is something that is really, really hard for people to do, but sometimes we need to cut the ties of some of the people that are in our lives. So yesterday it was a travel day for me, and the person that I was traveling with, we were having this conversation about the different people who I truly miss. I truly miss these people who are no longer in my life, but I don't chase after them, and I don't need their energy in my life. And as much as I miss them, I'm allowed to have that feeling of missing them, but being able to restrict that energy out of my life is something that makes things a lot easier and a lot better for me. And so I'm polite with them when I see them, and I definitely, but they're people that were near and dear to my heart, that I would love them to be part of my life, but their energy that they carry, I can't have that in my life. Right. So, and it's just really important for us to be able to remember that you are the center of the universe. Right. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're not the center of the universe. Yes, I am the center of my universe. There's no one else in this world that is coming with me from birth to death.
Right.
I am the only person who's coming with me from birth to death. And so what is it that's going to make things work for me? I may have to think outside of the box. I may have to try and find a different pattern. I may have to try and find a different route to be able to get to my destiny.
Absolutely. And you're right, with toxicity is not allowed in anybody's life. I don't care if you're 3 or if you're 89, no toxicity. And I like how you said you may acknowledge them when they're around, you may whatever, but you don't then allow them in so close that it affects you. And that's really important because, again, everybody's toxicity in their world is different, right? So we want to make sure that everybody's doing that in a healthy way. And I think that's fabulous.
And it is all those little small steps, right? Those small, some of those words are really hard to pronounce.
With their tooth, yeah.
It really, it's the freezing is almost gone, but it's like, so you don't realize how much that you use your lips and your tongue until it's frozen. And so being able to have that opportunity for us to be able to take those small steps and seeing what is it that we need to be doing and thinking the way that we need to. So Maureen says, thank you for that. I will use. And so I'm assuming she's talking about the little thing that you shared. And Jeanette says, learning self-care took decades for me. And it really, and I love the fact that you're actually pointing that out, Jeanette, because a lot of people are like, okay, well, I'm supposed to just sit in silence and I'm supposed to do like all these ums. And it's like, it doesn't have to look like that. It can be a walking meditation. It can be just sitting by a tree. It could be watching the clouds going by. It doesn't have to be these where you have like the pictures of like these perfectly still Buddhas that don't move, right? We are human, and we have different ways of being able to be stimulated. And sometimes like Wendy said, is nature's her thing, and that's where she takes people is into that space, but that may not be your space. That may not be where it is that you want to be able to be. And that's okay too, whatever it is that looks like for you. But just the meditation that you shared, I could actually vision being able to, because I participated as you shared, and I was able to like feel the tree that was actually that I was leaning up against, and I could see the water that was moving. And it's like, you didn't say anything about that, but I was able to actually get to that space. But had I've done that years ago, that's not someplace that I would have been able to go. It would have taken me somebody else to take me through that step, somebody else to guide me through those images. But now I can actually focus on my breath, get into that space, and get in there and be able to take that moment. And nature is definitely something that takes me there. So Jeanette says, walking in the woods with Wendy keeps me sane in a very I love that. I love that.
Jeanette's amazing. And she's one of the people I work with who I know she'll be okay with this. She couldn't walk a half a mile. And now she's actually backpacking and carrying a backpack. And she's just Amazing. I have to watch my mouth. Amazing. So she's really great, and she's inspiring. And I want to go back to what you were talking about being years ago. You couldn't do that. A quick story. I have my best friend who lives in LA. Is very much in the spiritual world, and she's amazing in her own right, and she's a spirit baby medium, and she's great. But I remember once sitting down, and she said, "Sit under this tree and take out your journal and write with me." And I'm like, "Excuse me, you want me to do what?" there's dirt and there's bugs, and you want me to write down my feelings? Are you kidding me? And we laugh about it to this day, and we've been best friends for many, many years, 20 years or something, forever. But we still laugh about it, and I go, "Oh my God, look at how far I've come since that point." Now I take people and say, "Sit under the tree and write with me," or, do you know what I mean? Or go touch the leaves, or go take off your shoes and put them in the dirt. But it's funny how we evolve and how we allow ourselves, right, to learn and to come up to new levels. And really, as humans, right, we never, or actually anything, nothing ever stays the same. It goes up or it goes down, but it's almost impossible to stay evenly the same. And so it's really nice to watch people allow themselves to come up and be that empowerment, right? Even if it's not touching dirt, it could be putting together a car. I don't really care, but allowing themselves to be able to do that. And it's fabulous. But I remember that. You want me to sit under a tree? Are you insane?
Well, and that was the because of COVID, we hadn't been able to do a lot of the different activities and stuff. And so I had a retreat that I never host a retreat in the spring. And it's usually in the fall, but I hosted one in the spring, and where we normally go, there's zero internet connection. You go and you get to go, and everybody is staying in the same cabin, and it's solar powered. So like, it's like really getting back down into nature. And so, and as we were walking, so as you were sharing about that story, and that was one of the things that this beautiful soul who's never been to anything. She's a new single mom who has a child with autism, and she was really struggling with like all the things that were going on, and really struggling with how to be able to move forward. And so made arrangements for her child to be able to stay with somebody for a weekend, which she had never done. And so like that was a big experience. And then on top of that, they can't get a hold of her. She can't, like, she has no access to texting. She has no way of being able to do. And it's like, okay, but if you need to call, there is a satellite phone that you have access to, that kind of thing. So we reassured her that way. But as we're walking along, and it was muddy. It was like super, super mud.
Oh,
and I did a blog series specifically about being stuck in the mud, because we were actually walking around and we were literally getting stuck. And so she got stuck in the mud, and she fell, and she like doesn't like dirt. She doesn't like, so she's like stuck in the mud, literally. And then, but there was two of us that were walking. And so we were able to go on either side and allow her to be able to grab a hold of us and help get that through. And so the significance of it was falling in the mud and getting stuck in the mud, but that she's not alone. Right. And like, that was the whole part of the whole connection. And she didn't die from getting dirty. Right.
Right.
Right. We get like, oh my God. And I got mud all over me. That's okay. We have water. We can wash off. Right. So it just allows us to be able to have that. So Katrina says, I've learned to process a lot of emotions on walks with Wendy. You have amazing followers. It's a beautiful thing, and I feel so much love and gratitude. And Jeanette says, get stuck climbing over a log and laugh. That's funny.
So just Jeanette's this just little tiny lady, and she climbs over those logs. She like has to leap almost, and sometimes she gets stuck, and we just laugh and laugh and laugh to the point where like, where's the bathroom? But that's, that's what's so fun about being out there. It doesn't matter. Who cares? If you were in the city and you were trying to walk over something and you got stuck, people would laugh at you and they would think you're an idiot, whatever they think. But out there, it doesn't matter. And it's just fun. And it's like being a kid again. So it's really kind of cool. And it brings our awareness up to remind us that we can just do it and try it and have fun.
Absolutely. And so Karen says, amen. Great testimony. It's true. We rise with the help of others. And it really makes a huge difference when we actually have that support and that connection. And that's kind of the reason why I was talking about that earlier, about like, disconnecting from people who are not, shouldn't be in our bubble, right?
Right,
So
right.
we still, the world will still continue to revolve, and we need all the different people in our worlds and in our life, but we don't have to allow them to be able to get stuck inside our bubble. And so it's really important for us to be able to, like, how do we move forward? How do we be able to get out of that and move through that that circle? And so, is there anything else, Wendy, that you think is really important for us to be able to share, that you think that somebody really needs to hear in this moment?
I think I just want to remind people that now's the time to do for you, and it's okay. It's okay to take the time for you. I know people have kids, people have husbands, people have wives, people have jobs. I get it. But reality is if you don't take care of you and take steps to help yourself out, none of that other stuff is going to matter. So I have a friend, a dear friend, who was afraid to go on a simple hike because her kids were home with her husband and they had nothing to do. And I said, you know what? You go out into nature, you're going to feel better, and go home and you're going to be able to service or do whatever your kids and your husband need better. And that's exactly what happened. But I just want to remind people, take time for you. It doesn't mean that you have to push everybody away and tell them they suck. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, please take a moment of your day or a weekend or a retreat or an hour a week, whatever it is, and take time for you so that you can rise to the level of where you're happy, and everybody around you is going to be happier too. Karen, I see, says, doing for others makes me feel great. And she's right. Some people will say, if you don't take time for you, you can't do for others. You know what? I'm going to say I'm on this fence on that one. You got to do for you, but it's okay to do for others too.
Yeah.
And
But it
it's
also
okay to take that
depends
time.
on, to the extent that you're doing for others.
I agree.
Right? So if you're
I agree.
doing to others to the extent of your detriment, then that's not helpful either.
I agree.
Right?
And I was famous for that for many years. And that friend who took me under that tree finally got me to see that after 10 years or whatever. So I agree with you. But it reminds you to, Karen is very good at setting boundaries, by the way. But it is good to set those boundaries, but to also take that time. And listen, for some people, taking the time for them is actually going and volunteering a little bit.
Yes.
Right? And doing for others, which is an amazing thing. So Katrina's right. It's about balance. But again, make sure you take that time for you, because you're important. Everybody's important, and it's okay to be you in the now and enjoy life, man.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be boring, and it doesn't have to be, oh my God, I have to do this, that, other thing. It's supposed to be fun.
And that doing for you now can be as simple as just doing that meditation that you just did.
Absolutely.
Right? So it could just be stopping, focusing on your breath and nothing else. If you do that a couple of times a day or even once a day, that could be what you need as your stepping stone. That could be what you need to be able to give yourself a little bit more and having that that connection. And so Karen says, yes, balance. And then she also says, feel the feels. And I know that a lot of clients that I have really struggle with that one. Feel the feels. You want me to do what? You want me to cry in front of a woman? And it's like, it's okay. It's okay to feel those feels, or to get super angry. I had another client who we were doing some sound healing, and so we were practicing with different tools, and her husband had just passed away, and that was one of the things that she was very angry, but it was like, yeah, I'm angry. Right, and then I was like, okay, feel it. Feel what it is that you're feeling. And then she like started pounding on the drum and like scared everybody else in the room. But it was like, and everybody else, I was like checking with everybody else to make sure that they were all okay from a trauma base. But everybody else was able to then be able to feel. And then at that point, when she was done beating on that drum, then all the tears came. Right? All the tears came. Then she was able to have the conversation and being able to have the emotions that came with it. So feel the feels. So important, Karen, that we do not do enough of.
It's true. It took me 20 years to be able to shed one tear. That's not a joke. That's not a story. That's actually true. I don't think my kids ever saw me cry growing up. So but now they do, and it's important.
Yes, it is.
It's a release, and it's a good thing. So feel the feels for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, and our kids learn by example, right? So like that really helps us. And
I agree.
helps them. And
I
so
agree.
allowing them to be able to know that it's okay to have those feelings and have those emotions, it makes it a huge important, right? So like it's hugely important for us to be able to like very feel connected. So Jeanette says still can't do the cry thing, and that's okay. And that's okay.
But she can check on me to make sure I'm healthy and happy. So I know she's doing it. She's doing it in her own way, which is this is what this is all about, is living life outside the box your way and being happy.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So now I forgot to ask you before we came on, do you have an offer for somebody?
I do. So we have a discount on our new empowering cards that we have out. This just happens to be one of them. Let's see if I can get everybody to see it. Oh, there we go. That's my dog, Sedona.
Nice.
But this card happens to say, go outside and experience how nature invites you. It invites and allows you to constantly be who you are meant to be, judgment free.
So are those on your website, Wendy?
They're on my website. They're also on my Facebook page, and everything is at happyhikersfitness.com or Happy Hikers Fitness on Facebook, Happy Hikers Fitness on Instagram, on YouTube. I'm everywhere. But if you mention the podcast, there'll be a 15% discount off of those cards, and we'll do free shipping. So okay, that's perfect. A beautiful thing for sure. Yes.
So
Karen. So I'd love people to make sure, if they ever want to reach out or whatever, that the website again is happyhikersfitness.com. Or they can reach out to me at happyhikersfitness@gmail.com. It's really easy. It's just straight across the board, Happy Hikers Fitness. But join the Facebook page so that they can follow us. We post lots of pictures out in nature, amazing full moon hikes we do every month. And everybody should remember next month is the lunar eclipse. So that's kind of cool. I don't know if you could see it in Canada. I'm not really sure how that works.
It all depends on the weather. So it all depends. We will be in the middle of winter season. Our winter season should have started by then.
Right,
we are anyway.
Right.
So yeah, it all depends. We actually have lots of beautiful clearing. So there's lots of times when we have things like this that I actually take a drive to someplace where there's no streetlights. Because if you live in the city,
right,
like our whole 6,000 people, but it's our little city, and so I will sometimes drive out to the one of the further communities that allows us to be able to do that. So I'll go to one of the community centers that has a baseball diamond, and we actually go and park there and
nice.
And get to go and watch things like that because there's no lights, so it's beautiful.
Right. I encourage people to find places like that. At my place, if I don't have a light on, it is pitch dark because we are literally in the middle of the forest. So it's pretty amazing. So you get to see things. But there are places everywhere you live to be able to go do that.
Yes, absolutely.
And to experience that. So it's really cool.
So thank you so much. And I'm a card addict. Card deck addict.
Good. If you send me your address, I'll send you a deck of cards.
I will be reaching out definitely to get to get a deck. I do card pulls every Sunday for inside my Facebook group. So
nice.
But yeah, so that's I'm definitely going to be reaching out. I saw that one with the puppy, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I really love them because it's just about empowerment. I don't know if you can see, but back here, that's all full of cards. I have many cards too, and I love them, and I pull them, and I bring them for my clients, and we pull them during drum circles and cacao ceremonies. But this one I really love because it's all about being in the now and being in nature, and it's about a personal thing. So it's kind of cool, and I'm pretty proud. It took me a while to do that. So
I love that. So I will definitely be reaching out to place an order, and I will be in touch. So great. Thanks everybody for joining. And so we haven't had a long chatting with wisdom in a really long time because I try and keep it at 30 minutes. And so we're almost 50 minutes. So but it's also part of the conversation, right? So when there's that conversation happening during the live, it's like, well, I'm not cutting them off. So that's not going to happen. So Karen says, thank you both for this morning message with my cup of coffee. And Katrina says, they are the best and so fitting. And Jeanette says, thank you. So thanks everyone. And to our quiet voyeurs who are watching and haven't said anything, we send much love and blessing to you as well.
Absolutely. Have a great day, you guys.